about Giants training camp, because that's what we're doing. It is the camp that is the New York Giants, and I want to see if we're rolling and fully make sure that we're rolling. I see it. We're on Twitter. Are we on YouTube? Hell yeah, we're on YouTube. All right, here we go. It is July 23rd, 2025. It's Talking Giants, brought to you by SeatGeek, and it is the first recap of training camp for the New York Football Giants. A very quick in and out, hour and a half practice. This week is kind of, Brian Daboll has typically used it as a very big ramp-up period for the team. You're not going to see full pads. If I had to speculate, it's kind of funny. I ran into Grump this morning, and we were speculating the schedule of, they have practice today, Wednesday. They have practice Thursday. They have practice on Friday, and they have off on Saturday. So either they could go full pads on Friday because then they could take advantage of the off day on Saturday, or are they going to continue with shells for the first 3 days and then put on full pads on Sunday? So that's when I think the intensity is really going to pick up. So the first day, you're at least, my mentality is I'm going to try and watch as much as I possibly can and really follow the ball. And ironically enough, it was pretty much a passing camp within the red zone. It was a red zone day. When they were on 7-on-7, it was 11-on-11. They were all in the red zone, all three quarterbacks. They were inside the red zone, and it was primarily a second and a third down day as well. A couple notes before practice. Because I'm going to kind of go in order of my old notes here. You see this whole setup that I got here? I got a depth chart with like keys, and I color coded it, and I put emojis for like injury concerns, special teams, expiring contracts, and things like that. So I'm all ready to fucking roll this year. Before practice notes, coaches are getting fat again, which is awesome because fat Patrick Graham was great. Fat Brian Daboll made the playoffs, and Carmen Brasillo's looking nice. And I see it's kind of a diss to just say a coach and a person's looking fat, but they kind of are. Last year, they did that competition of who's going to lose the most weight amongst the coaching staff. I don't think they're doing that this year, and we're all winning. I want coaches that don't take care of their bodies because they're focused on football. Abdul Carter did a backflip. Nobody got it on camera, which kind of sucked, but he did a backflip, got the crowd excited, and he made that backflip look very easy. And it's like, oh, this dude is just crazy athletic. And a lot of these guys, like all of them are crazy athletic, but I don't know if all of them can just do a backflip and make it look as cool as he did. So Abdul Carter did a backflip before practice. But Russell Wilson, man, I would say the main story out of today's practice, Russell Wilson, Jaxson Dart, Malik Nabers. So we'll touch on those three kind of at the start. Russell Wilson in general, I think he was about 9 for 15, and it's a red zone day, so there's a lot of checkdowns and things like that. And I know 7-on-7 stats aren't fully counted in like that 9 for 15, right? But one of the first throws of camp it was the first throw of camp in a 7-on-7 was a corner route to Wan'Dale Robinson. And it's like, man, Wan'Dale's not a big guy. You got to fit that ball in a certain spot. And Wan'Dale was open. It was a good route, and Micah McFadden was trailing in coverage, so that's not ideal for the defense on that 7-on-7. But dude, it was just a nice throw and a corner route in the end zone where they did run a lot of fades today as well, which kind of like, hey, end zone fades are one of the more frustrating plays in football. It's like it just doesn't have that much of a high percentage of success, but they were trying to run it, and I get it. They're trying to get chemistry between, especially Nabers and Russ were running them quite often. And Russ delivered one for a touchdown to Malik Nabers on an awesome catch over Deontay Banks. But Nabers had a really good day inside the red zone. But that first throw in 7-on-7 to Wan'Dale, it's like, whoa, like, that ball, I don't want to say it's moving different. It's coming out of Russell Wilson's hands different. We'll fully see when they can stretch the field how that looks. But Russ looked decisive. I'll say that much. I think that's the word that we can rest on. I don't want to sit here and say, oh man, Russ and that his arm strength, it just looks different and the ball looks different. And I think what he's going to do this year is he's going to do a better job of giving receivers opportunities to make plays after the catch. And then also, especially in the freaking red zone, man, where you would think that we have the play callers in Brian Dable, and now Mike Kafka is taking over play calling. I'm going to put a little note on, there was one Mike Kafka play that really was apparent in practice today. So I'm going to kind of put a note in that. We'll return to that later where I watched it. And I was like, that's a Mike Kafka thing. But I think Russ is going to give these guys opportunities, whether that be inside the red zone or especially when you're outside the red zone and then you're looking for explosives, not just on the sideline. But I'm hoping too, even when Russ does throw the middle of the field, which he doesn't do all that often, if he's given his guys opportunities after the catch, because Wan'Dale's a guy who's, not awesome after the catch, but he's not bad. Darius Slayton in 2022, when this offense was decent, Darius Slayton was really good after the catch, and kind of that was an underrated part of his game in 2022. And then obviously we know Malik Nabers can do that as well. So there are 3 receivers on this team, and even, hey, throw Theo Johnson in there as a tight end that's athletic and can move, and that was one of his trump cards coming out of Penn State. So that's what I'm hoping Russell Wilson could do. And at least from day one, hard to watch it from the red zone and kind of get like that great feeling. That great feeling on if that's going to happen, but that fade, that corner route that Wan'Dale ran at the start of practice was pretty good. This second play of 7-on-7 was Paulson Adebo pass breakup on Darius Slayton, which that's one of the things that I wanted to see too, is are these cornerbacks making plays on the football? And Paulson Adebo, I think one of the only pass breakups of the practice, there was a Nick Jones pick 6 that we're going to talk about from Jaxson Dart. But I love that right away, seeing that from Paulson Adebo. I'm really excited. I'm really fired up about him. Nabers had 2 touchdowns. There were people in the stands that we were with that said, "Oh, you missed one that he had 3." I'm seeing a lot of people say 2. And the main thing that I was like, the number one thing that I'm looking out for this morning, and I'm glad that we even got it answered, and that we didn't have to wait for Malik Nabers to run out there. We got it answered by Joe Shane and Brian Dable that Malik Nabers is a full participant in practices, which is awesome, because I was worried about that toe. The toe injury was weird. I even mentioned on the last show that I started texting some people that I know at LSU and maybe have, they have some connections with like the training staff, and they have experience with that. And they were like, Malik Nabers, we don't think Malik Nabers ever really suffered a toe injury in college. So that's where I kind of like, whoa, this is a little weird. If Dable's saying that this is something that he suffered in college, and people at LSU are saying, I don't know if that's something that we ever dealt with. So that was a little worrisome kind of heading in, but he's a full participant. Love to see it. And he had a great day, 2 touchdowns. The fade touchdown that he had at the latter part of practice as well was also sick over Deonte Banks. Deonte Banks was mugging him. Pretty sure it would have been pass interference, and he still was able to come down with it. So that's Russ. That's Nabers. Here's Jaxson Dart. Jaxson Dart, not a good day. I think he had a touchdown to Cam Scattaboo in 7-on-7. He had a nice check down to Thomas Fidone in the first 7-on-7 period. What he did in the 7-on-7 period is he killed the play at the line. He canned the play at the line on that check down to Fidone. And I thought he kind of looked somebody off, so he wasn't just staring down Thomas Fidone. But then you put 11 guys on the field, and it did look a little different for Dart. I think he only had 1 pass completion during 11-on-11s. Him and Jameis, I feel like this is kind of sometimes hard to keep track of, but Dart, I feel like at certain times was the 3rd-team quarterback. I felt like most of the time, I think he was with the 2nd team. And then for 1 play, he was the 1st-team quarterback. Let's talk about his 1 play and his 1 rep that he had with the 1st team today. There was pressure. I think it was Brian Burns coming off the right side. There was pressure coming off the right side, which Brian Burns had a fucking day, by the way. Had a day. I think he had at least 1 to 2 sacks, forced some incompletions and some throwaways from Russell Wilson. So Brian Burns really wreaked havoc on both sides. I guess I'll judge Brian Burns a little bit more when he plays Jermaine Illuminor versus James Hudson. James Hudson was the left tackle, Andrew Thomas on the PUP list. But Jaxson Dart, his 1 play that he had against with the starters, it was a throw that he attempted to kind of fire into Darius Slayton inside the end zone, near the end zone. I'll say, at least. Can't remember on the top of my head, but there was pressure coming on. He kind of plants his feet in the pocket, even in the face of pressure, fires that ball, and it winds up being incomplete. But there are certain signs from Dart that I want to see this camp, and maybe that's one of them. Is a guy that's willing to make the throw that's going to make the biggest difference and the most significance in a football game. So that was Jaxson Dart. That throw fell incomplete, much like a lot of his throws. But let's talk about the pick six. He just stared down his guy. He stared down his receiver, and it was Nick Jones. It's shout out the summer of Nick Jones. I see 31 running in there, and I'm like, oh, that's Tyler Nubin. And then it's like, damn, yeah, you gotta remember Tyler Nubin changed his number to 27 with Penik leaving. So Nick Jones did a really nice job of reading Jaxson Dart's eyes and then jumping on that football, hopping on that football. I think Dart just stared down his receiver, and he just doesn't look comfortable. And I'm not taking any major takeaways from it. It's inside the red zone. You have to be so precise inside the red zone. I saw him a couple times. He was cannon plays at the line of scrimmage and changing things up. Whether that's calling out, whether he's calling out protections, I don't know. But typically when you can a play, you're just going to the second play. So, being able to manage the line of scrimmage is certainly something that I know that Jaxson Dart is going to have to get used to at the NFL level, especially coming from Lane Kiffin's system and Lane Kiffin's offense, where he just made things so easy for Jaxson Dart, and he makes things so easy for the quarterback. But Dart just didn't look comfortable, and I think that's fine. I think that's fine. He looked a little bit more comfortable in 7-on-7, and then when you put 11 guys out there and there's more going on around you, he didn't look all that comfortable. I'm not panicking. I'm not taking really anything away from it. I would be panicking a little bit more if Russell Wilson had that kind of day. Russ looked decisive. A lot of checkdowns today. A lot of stuff to the tight ends. A lot of stuff to running backs. A lot of play action. A lot of rollouts. What they were doing, and this is where I'll bring Mike Kafka into this now. A lot of play action rollouts and just play action in general, and some of it was with the intention of I'm going to roll out here, and then I saw a one play where Malik Nabers, after like a play action rollout or some sort of movement eye candy that's going on in the backfield, Malik Nabers is kind of just standing at the line of scrimmage, boom, and then he gets yards after the catch. Maybe would have been like a 6 to maybe even a 10-yard gain if Malik Nabers can make a guy miss. So that it was kind of some fun stuff there. I have gotten excited about schematic stuff before, like with orbit motion. They do orbit motion every year in camp, and then it gets to the regular season, and then that kind of fun stuff will go away. So I don't get too excited by schematic stuff that's cool or interesting or new too often. Or I don't put too much stock in it as I did like in the early years where I was like, oh, this stuff is cool. They're going to do it. And it's like, no, they don't. But that's where I felt like Mike Kafka's influence. But there was one particular play where I was like, that's Travis Kelce. That's Kansas City. That's what you guys would do, is Russell Wilson play action out of the backfield. And then as he was kind of planting his back foot, he underhand scoops it to Theo Johnson, who catches the ball from there, and then he's probably touched relatively quickly, but just seeing that play, it's like, Mike Kafka's back as the play caller, because I don't know if that's something that Dable would do. Maybe I missed it, but that's something that I feel like that's more or less the Kansas City mindset of what they did, and even some of the stuff that they did back in 2022. So I felt Mike Kafka's presence there when you kind of had the Russell Wilson underhand to Theo Johnson. What else do I want to say? Banks and Cordell Flott at cornerback 2. Let's talk some lineup stuff and roster stuff. Banks and Cordell Flott, they were alternating at cornerback 2 basically the whole practice. I still, in my brain, I still think Deonte Banks is a better football player than Cordell Flott. I mean, forget the draft stock that you've put in both of them, and Cordell Flott being a 3rd rounder and Deonte Banks being a 1st rounder. Deonte Banks still does a very, very good job of putting himself in the right spots and the right position. He just needs to make plays on the football. We know this. And I've talked about the player tracking data time and time again that says that out of wide receiver cornerback separation, you look at the cornerbacks that are the best in the league: Reek Woolen, DJ Reed, Sauce Gardner, all those guys, Devin Witherspoon. Banks is up there at the top 5. It's not something that you would expect But the catches and the shit that he allows, it's a lot of big plays. And, especially if you have trouble tackling and you're allowing a big play and, hey, let's keep this 20-yard play to a 20-yard play, not a 40, 45-yard touchdown. So that's Deonte Banks' challenge. But you almost feel like with Paulson Adebo on the other side, and if it is the defense's philosophy of we're going to have Paulson Adebo mostly match up against wide receiver ones, which I hope that is their plan. Deonte Banks going up against wide receiver twos, I feel somewhat better about, even if he is not the best at making plays on the football. Like I still really do believe that Deonte Banks can be a serviceable cornerback two in the NFL and for the New York Giants. So I don't know if it's clearly it's legit because they did it all spring and they're now doing it at the start of camp. I think Deonte Banks is going to wind up winning that job. We'll see if Cordell Flott can make plays. Deonte Banks went back and forth with Malik Nabers today. There was one red zone fade where Nabers maybe had an opportunity to go up and make a play on the ball. Deonte Banks was right there in phase, and I saw a lot of people giving compliments to Deonte Banks for his positioning in that play. But still, in the back of my brain, if you look at that pass breakup, and if it's anywhere around Twitter or Instagram or wherever, if you see that pass breakup, I still, in the back of my head, was saying, he didn't turn his damn head. So, like, he was in a good spot, and maybe Russ could have led Nabers on that fade a little bit better, but he still didn't turn his damn head. But he's in a good position. That is not the problem for Deonte Banks. So, Adebo was the guy that made the best play on the football of the day. Obviously not counting the Nick Jones pick six, which really was sick. Some people are calling this the summer of Nick Jones. If you want to know where Nick Jones came from, by the way, he is number 31 this training camp. He was drafted in the 7th round from Ball State by the Kansas City Chiefs, 7th round 2023 draft. He was with the Chiefs the last 2 years, and the Giants signed him as a free agent this offseason. So, I don't know. Watch out, Nick Jones. And I couldn't really tell if it was with the second team or the third team because Dart was kind of alternating there too. I thought at first it was with the second team. So look out for Nick Jones. Look out. He's listed as a free safety. Oh, I'm sorry. He's listed as, I have my colored roster right here. He's listed as a cornerback. He is not listed as a safety. And at least according to our lads, he is not listed as a slot corner. I got to look out as practices go on. I got to look out for who's going to be at slot corner and who's the backup outside of Drew Phillips. What else do I have? Brian Burns dominated. Alignment-wise, Roy Robertson Harris was the main interior defensive line number 2. They really didn't rotate at all. There were some periods where Dex was off to the side, and then I think Jordan Riley was the second backup nose tackle when I think that role is going to be won by DJ Davidson. So that's day one. But Roy Robertson Harris he was the main guy that got interior defense alignment number 2, even though I do like Jeremiah Ledbetter better as a football player, no pun intended. Let's talk about Jameis because we haven't talked about Jameis at all. Jameis, I think, is just out there to have fun, man. Jameis had a ton of plays where I'm like getting mad, where he's taking read options and he's running with the ball. It's like, dude, that's not your game. Like that could be Russ's game. Maybe it was Russ's game 4 years ago. It's very much in Dart's game, and hell, it could even be in DeVito's game. But Jameis, I don't know if that's your game, Pop. Like you're taking that ball and in read options, and at one point I'm like, he's just doing this to be funny and to be silly. So how do you like that? Oh, I have to do something really quick before I keep going with notes, and then I'm gonna kick it to the chat as we wind down here. And I have to talk about SeatGeek. Yes, I do. Today's practice recap is sponsored by SeatGeek. The MLB playoff chase is on, and football is just around the corner. Come hang out with us at Giants games this year. With SeatGeek, the MLB's official ticket marketplace, your tickets are instantly fulfilled in your account and fully guaranteed in your account. After purchase, there's no more waiting for some random person to send you your tickets because with the MLB games, SeatGeek has got you. There are more than 70,000 events listed on SeatGeek right now, including sports, concerts, festivals, and so much more. Right now, you can get tickets to the NBA, get tickets to football. Each ticket is rated on a scale of 1 to 10. Get tickets to a NASCAR race. I just went to Dover. So you know you're getting a good deal. So just look for those green dots because green means good and red means bad. You know we came through for you guys. You can use code GIANTS2025 for 10% off your next set of tickets at SeatGeek. That's 10% off any tickets with promo code GIANTS2025. All right, what do we got next? There's not a ton. There's like little notes here and there. Greg Dulcich had a really nice catch from Jameis Winston. With I think at that point it was the third team. I think that really makes sense that Greg Dulcich would be running around with the third team. So Greg Dulcich like contested with Chris Board right on his back, and Jameis really puts it in a good spot, kind of like right by his head, and he goes and he pins that ball against his head, and it winds up being a touchdown. The ball was thrown short of the goal line, but Greg Dulcich, it would have been a touchdown if it was real life. I don't have any more notes primarily here. Dartwood, one play with the starters. That's basically it. Cam Scatterbo was healthy. Let's go through some of the health stuff. Cam Scatterbo was out there running around healthy after missing the majority of the spring. Darius Alexander out there healthy, running around the majority of springs. And I don't think anybody went down with an injury today, which was great. So, I mean, knock on wood. Remember last summer, there was one summer where I was sitting here being like, well, the Giants haven't suffered any injuries. And then it was like a week where all of them got hurt. And it was like, that's your fault, Justin. You're an asshole. So a lot of checkdowns, a lot of red zone stuff. The 7-on-7 first throw of the practice to Wan'Dale Robinson on the corner route was pretty damn good. I talked about the lower hand throw, the underhand throw to Theo Johnson. Jameis was doing shit with the read option, which was funny. Brian Burns wreaked havoc. And I think that's basically it. A lot of play action stuff and stuff like that. Jeff, you just cleared your throat. Is that an indicator for me to look at you for something? No. Okay. You were just clearing your throat. All right. I'll take some questions from the chat. Let's talk in the chat. What seems to be the tight end depth chart? Where does Bellinger stand on it? Now, here's the tight end depth chart. I have it right in front of me. It's Theo Johnson, I have Chris Mann. I say Chris Manhertz is the second tight end on the team. That's just my opinion. Oh, by the way, if you're seeing that there's writing on the opposite side, my sister, I don't know if I ever said this on the show. My sister has autism and she lives in a group home. So sometimes like we pick her up on the weekends and she like comes over. So I printed out like all these sheets this morning and I realized on the opposite side, she has like her drawings and her dictionary on the other side. So if you're wondering what that is, there it is. Tight end depth chart. It's Theo Johnson, Chris Manhertz, Daniel Bellinger, Thomas Fidone, and then Greg Dulcich and UDFA Jermaine Terry is on that too. So, I mean, it's the whole question of, and people, I'm sure there are people that really disagree with me, but I think it's an interesting opportunity to double your cap space if you cut Daniel Bellinger. And it's a shame because Daniel Bellinger has earned that playtime escalator in his contract. Like he's earned that because he's played and he's been needed and relied upon. But I just don't know if like you're going to carry 4 tight ends and you're going to keep Bellinger and Fidone because you just drafted Fidone. And I think Fidone can bring, even if he's a little bit worse as a blocker, I think he can bring somewhat of a similar skill set. Like if you need to use him as an H-back or something like that. So, and Chris Manhertz is the man blocking. Like he is the man. He is the second tight end on this team. I think Dable loves him. I think he's definitely making the team. So, I mean, if they carry 4 tight ends, great. Then like, hey, in my 53-man roster, pod that I did, then it's just a matter of taking I had 10 old linemen, take a 10th old lineman out of there and then add a 4th tight end. And then boom, we're carrying 4 tight ends that we feel decent about. I mean, that's the solution there. So I think just the Giants only have $3 million in cap space right now. They're going to need more to get through the year. And I feel like we have this conversation every year. There's an interesting opportunity for the Giants to possibly double their cap space if they release Daniel Bellinger. So that's my take on that. The camps seem more intense. I realize it's only day 1, but not a country club. I mean, this first week is going to be tough to evaluate that because this is always just a ramp up period. And I get it. These guys, I'm sure some of these guys were working their tail off over these last 4 to 6 weeks since the spring. And then maybe some of these guys weren't. So it's fair for the first day, hour and a half in and out. There are some practices last year where it's like, shit, we're going for almost 2 hours and we're still going here. There's a lot of mouths to feed at quarterback, which is also the thing too. There's 4 quarterbacks. Tommy DeVito really isn't getting a lot of reps. Like during that 7-on-7, that first period, it was 2 plays Russ, 2 plays Jameis, 2 plays Dart. Tommy DeVito didn't even get any plays. So there's a lot of mouths to feed and there's a lot of reps that need to be had by all three of these quarterbacks, because any of these quarterbacks could play at any time. It's a weird year. It's not a typical year for the Giants for sure. So I'm not gonna get too critical of the intensity or lack thereof. What was cool though, after the interception, they brought out the treasure chest, and it's funny. I had like a mom sitting next to me. Hello. I had a mom sitting next to me during the practice today, and she was like, "What's that treasure chest?" I never grabbed a picture of it, but she's like, "What's that chest?" I'm like, "Oh, the chest is out." And I was describing to her what it is. It's like, be a damn pirate. You got to take the ball away. So it was cool to see after that pick six, the energy that the defense had, and they got that treasure chest out and whatnot. They got to do more of that. They got to do more of that this year. So here, let's talk about things that I want to keep an eye out for. Somebody asked who was the first backup at center. That I don't know. I didn't really look at the O-line, D-line today. The only reason why I saw that Brian Burns had a really good day, and also Tibbs had some pressure too. The only reason why I saw that is because they were disrupting plays and they were wrecking havoc. During the first week, I really don't watch O-line and D-line. I like to watch them when pads come on. So that's one thing that, hey, I got to look up backup center. And also, I'll be honest, I don't put a lot of emphasis on backup center because I don't think the Giants are going to carry two pure centers. I think they're going to use Jake Kubis, who's more of a guard. I think they're going to use him at center. And honestly, like if JMS goes down, I think they're way more likely to put John Runyon or Greg Van Roten at center versus a backup center. That's what I think they're going to do. And then they would bring in like Aaron Stinney, Jake Kubis, or Evan Neal at guard. Like that's the guy that would come up next at guard. So that I'll look out for. And as camp goes on, we'll talk more about like the depth chart and who's lining up where and things like that. But I didn't catch that. Let's see. What else? Will the defense have to be told to scale back to allow the offense to work? I didn't think the offense was that bad today. Was it great? No. Was it inoperable? No. So I don't think we're at a point where we have to tell the defense it's like Wink in 2022, like, hey, man, take it easy. Also, Shane Bowen doesn't run his defense the same way, but I think it's good for our tackles. It's like, hey, James Hudson, here's Brian Burns and Kayvon Thibodeau and Abdul Carter. Speaking of Abdul Carter, the second thing that I really want to look out for is Abdul Carter. Like there are certain plays, and my guy Jeff, our producer Jeff, is here too, and he'll tell you firsthand. There are a couple plays where I'm like, I'm watching Abdul Carter, and it just didn't really, it didn't stand out. And in all fairness, I had to keep reminding myself of like, well, where is he? What is he doing? Is he even on the field? There was one play that I said, I'm watching Abdul Carter, and he was lined up as like an off-ball linebacker, but closer to being an edge rusher than an interior guy. So he wasn't like lined up with his hand in the dirt or kind of lined up in this 2-point stance, like ready to go as a pass rusher. He was kind of standing up, and as the ball snapped, he's covering a tight end in the flat. And he did a good job, and he did a pretty good job of it, of just keeping up with the tight end, even as he moves and tries to turn his head and get open. So, they're going to have Abdul Carter dropping back in coverage, and that's cool because I think he can do that. I don't want to see that too often, especially on money downs, on third downs. More third downs than most. I want to see Abdul Carter going after the quarterback since that's what he's best at. But to give different looks to a defense and have to account for different things is not a bad thing. So, who impressed you most on the day? Malik Nabers. Malik Nabers for sure. Without watching every day, I mean, that Nick Jones pick six was also pretty sick too. I understand it's a rookie quarterback and you're looking at his eyes, but he fucking pounced on that ball. Like that was legit. It had me thinking that was 31 Tyler Nubin running down the field, but nope. Tyler Nubin switches numbers, so that's Nick Jones too. But Darius Slayton for sure, just 2 touchdowns, couple more catches, and things like that. So I hope you enjoy. Hope you appreciate it. I think that's basically it. Dart had one complete. Oh, the Dart had one completion. I talked about the Darius Slayton. That's it. It's been about a half an hour. So I appreciate everybody hanging out. I'll be back tomorrow with another stream, with another recap. And I'll see you at Giants practice if you're there. Love to see you. Say hi. Come hang out. Appreciate you. I'll see you tomorrow.